This is the third part of our 4-episode special on the first book of the Stormlight Archive series called The Way of Kings. That's a mouthful. This time we get full-on spoilers into the plot, so if you don't want to read this, or if you did read this and you need a recap, this is the perfect episode for you.
Welcome back to Stormduck part something.
Part 3.
It's already... okay. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna get straight into this. I'm gonna take this book step by step. I'm gonna tell you what happened, and then they are going to tell you what really happened.
What really happened?
Okay. Probably. So this book, like we already mentioned, starts with a beginning and a beginning and a beginning to a beginning. It's like fucking begin already.
But it's all essential stuff.
Yeah. So the prelude is amazing, and I read it like 5 times, and it's super cool.
My note is prelude, no idea what happened.
Yeah, that's the point. Like you should have no idea.
The point is you should be like hooked on what the fuck is going on.
Exactly. You should be like, what is this? Like hooked is a very good word.
Oh,
it's exactly
like Hellraiser again.
Yes, exactly. That was my reference, which you couldn't understand at that time when we recorded the Hellraiser.
Oh my god,
episode.
I got it like
yeah.
I remember Kalak. Kalak was in the prelude.
Yes.
So that's the only name that you remember from that.
And there were some other people I don't know the names of, and there were some very important godlike, maybe radiant something people I don't know.
Well, there were the heralds.
Whatever that means.
Yeah.
And then
I guess we can stay at that because it's not explained very much.
They met and then they left and then something was mentioned. I was like, okay, bye, I don't care.
Well, those like 10 pages or whatever it is, like they're super dense with super important information.
I guess that was my question. Like, many of these parts, if I reread them after having read the first
it's gonna be making
something
much more sense.
Yes. So clearly, prelude, we have no idea what happened. Prologue,
Prologue is a tutorial. It's a video game tutorial.
Prologue is introduction to the magic system.
So my feelings with the prologue, it starts and there is Seth. Yeah. And then it starts and it already says Seth, son of Valano, truthless Shinovar.
Son Vallano.
Son is like the son of a son?
Yes. Son Vallano, yes.
So the Seth, the son of Valano, truthless Shinovar, is sent by the Parshendi to kill Galovar. Oh my god. Gavilar, whatever.
Gavilar.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was like,
sense, right?
So I read this, I was like...
Well, I mean, in that case also it's supposed to be very confusing. Like you read all of these names and you're like,
and then it completely flips and we get like a super video game scene. I was like, what?
Yeah. Which is really cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's another thing that kind of hooks you to in a different way.
So we already talked about sharp blades and sharp plate and all this. So all these people have all these things and they lash themselves to the ceiling and floor and bottom and they lash tables and they lash...
Seth does. Nobody knows what he's fucking doing. He's the only one who actually can do these things.
Who understands what he's doing. So, and also he kills Gavilar by making the balcony fall.
He attacks, kills a bunch of guards and then successfully assassinates the king. Yeah. The king is like hiding behind and he comes back to him. Is in this part?
So what happens is that the king and like his guard, they tried like a sham. So essentially a guy who's not a king wears the king's clothes.
Yeah, that's what it is.
And he's running away, trying to attract the attention. Yeah, it was
Sadeas?
Yeah,
right,
it was pretty fun. Like all this section, loving it. So this was like the prologue.
Also like the prologue also has a lot of information that is really well hidden in there, and you can reread those chapters again to get a lot more from that. But what we get from this is, why did he do it? Why did the Parshendi broke the truce even before it started? So
spoilers never answered in this book.
Well, yes, that's like on purpose.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but you would think after 1,000 fucking pages you'd learn something.
But that's the point. Like you shouldn't know. Like otherwise, like it's 10 books.
You can't get all the answers in the first chapter.
Okay.
It's like
not first chapter, 1,000 pages. Okay.
It's all relative.
It's the first. 6,000 pages.
Yeah.
So part 1 of this book out of 5 parts, which interludes and after prologue, after epilogue. So part 1,
Yeah.
11 chapters, and we got 2 storylines
Yeah.
of Kaladin and Shallan.
Yes.
I was writing the notes. At this point, I have no idea. And my notes was, there is Shanna and Kaldik.
Shana.
So we start with like a super fight. I didn't expect this to be here. There's like an army. Kaladin is leader in the army.
Right.
And it's from the point of view of this like young boy who
Yes.
joined the army, and it's like super action packed, like 300 Spartans.
Right.
I didn't expect this to be here. Awesome.
All right.
Hook number 3.
Yeah. Well, so, okay. Here's my question. When I was reading this chapter, for me personally, I had very specific expectations going forward after reading this chapter. What were your expectations?
My expectations were that I'm not gonna get anything like this for a long time after this.
Okay, okay. Besides that, like for the characters, what were your expectations?
I was expecting that the guy, I think his name is Sen, he's gonna be one of the main characters.
Right.
Yes.
I was expecting the same. Like I was sure that Kaladin would be a super important character, but not a point of view character.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought that the boy would be a point of view character, and he would be kind of like the apprentice of Kaladin. Especially because the way it's presented, you would expect like the boy isn't dead. He said he's actually dead.
But they didn't even say he was dead.
Yeah, that's true.
So I'm so annoyed. If they said he died, I will be very satisfied.
Well, they say he died. It's just like much later in the book,
Yeah.
towards the end.
Why didn't they say then?
Yeah. Because I think like he was playing on your expectations, which I think was very smart, but a little frustrating.
It's a very clever build-up on what happens to Kaladin later on, right? I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the next chapter, next Kaladin chapter, he is a slave.
Yeah.
And like basically a year has passed.
I imagined the scene when Skyrim opens the cards. Exactly the same.
That's a very good point. Yes.
And every time somebody makes a joke,
you're right.
Finally away.
That's exactly what I pictured. And I was like, this makes sense. We don't know what happened. Okay,
Yeah.
Skyrim. Let's go. Yeah, so I like this part.
Okay.
So then we also get Shallan.
Yeah, Shallan. Well, I in my mind I call her Shallan.
I forgot how they
Shallan,
said
yeah.
it. So this is like a younger girl. They never say how old.
No, they say she's like 17, 18.
Younger girl.
Yeah.
And she arrives to a place.
Carbarant.
Yeah, Carbaran. That's the city name I wanted to
That's the city, yeah, Carbarant.
City of Bells.
Yeah, City of Bell.
That's the way I say it. I don't know Carbrach.
Yeah, Carbaran.
Yeah, and she wants to just join this lady called Yasna, who
Yasna, I always call her Jasna in my mind, but
in the
In audiobooks, it's Yasna.
Yasna, really?
Yeah, it's Yasna.
I refuse to accept this.
Okay, Jasna.
Yes.
It's Yasna. I can't call her Jasna.
Yasna is like a highly placed official in the city leadership somehow.
Well, she's the daughter of the king.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I mean. She's like high in.
But not the king of
she's-
Carbaran. She's the daughter of the king who was murdered in the first.
Yes, she's the sister of the current king.
Yeah, she's the sister of Elokar, who's the current king.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Gavilar, the guy who got killed.
Yeah.
With the balcony.
Yes, I don't know. So she is like a very important person because she can soulcast.
She can soulcast, or she has a soulcaster in her possession. It's a magic glove.
Yeah.
Because it's portrayed in a way that there's like chains that come out from your fingers. So I think like we would put it on your fingers and stretch it on your wrist, and then like there's those 3 stones in the middle of your.
That's why I say this is an anime. This is exactly what an anime character from the early 2000s would wear. Yeah, it's a set of rings with a chain.
Yes,
I don't
chains, more chains.
Yeah.
We need all
I
the
don't think I
chains.
read the same book. I haven't seen any chains. I don't remember chains.
I mean, it's not described.
I guess there could be less description of safe hands.
Stupid crabs with shells somewhere on the floor. I know what they look like.
Kremlins.
I didn't know even what they're called.
But it also adds to the mystery that nobody really knows how the soulcasters actually work, except the Ardents, which are like the priests of the world.
So Yasna is looking for staff around her, and she needs a new one.
She doesn't want a new one. Like Shallan has to convince her that
So
she
Shallan
wants one.
wants to be that.
Yes,
Yeah.
she wants to be her ward.
Yeah.
Yeah, Yasna actually doesn't like to have work.
Yeah.
She doesn't want anyone around her. She just
Yeah.
wants to focus on her work. That's it.
I thought she was expected to have people around her.
Well,
Or why?
I guess scholars are expected
Yes.
to have some apprentices that
Yeah.
they teach. Take the mantle after them, I guess.
Yeah.
But for Yasna, it's different. She just doesn't really care about that because she has more important stuff than teach random person how to read books.
So essentially, Jasna is like the classic mentor who doesn't want to teach the apprentice, so the apprentice has to surprise her in order to be accepted as an apprentice.
Definitely one of the best characters in my eyes.
Jasna,
Yeah.
she's a very interesting character.
I like her as well.
So she meets Shallan, completely rejects her, and then Shallan doesn't give up, and she tries like tricks and stuff to get in there, and she rejects her again.
Yes.
But after having tried hard enough and long enough and persuaded her enough and forcing her way in there, she gets accepted as a scholar, and she starts studying. So she says at one point, I remember, like, the outside, I've heard of it sometime. I want to go there. Something, mysterious place. So that's pretty much what happens to Yasna and Shallan in the first book.
Well, the
part
main
one.
thing is that also Shallan isn't very honest with Yasna.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about that. She is there to actually steal the Soulcaster and try to get it back to her family so that they can get out of many debts that their father has actually accrued.
So this is another one of those things. Sorry to interrupt, but there's clearly something off with Shallan's past. The fact that she mentioned like her father's death, but every time she thinks about it, she's like, I shouldn't. really
There's
think about
something
it.
hidden.
Yeah, there's
Yes.
something wrong. There's clearly something wrong, but at the same time, like in her chapters, she's kind of like this witty and quirky girl. In a way, like you don't really feel it, but if you really look at it, there is like something strange.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's really cool the fact that you go through this book with these characters, even Kaladin, where like we are learning about his past throughout the book.
Yeah.
But the fact that you go through the story with these characters by knowing so little about them, so essentially that you create your image of them based on the present but not on the past, and based on the impression the others have of them and they have of themselves, as opposed as the truth. Which I think is really cool, because then when you learn about their story, whether it's Kaladin in this book, Shallan in the second book, and whoever else in the following books, you kind of have this conflict within you, because you already have a picture of this character and you already have feelings about this character, but at the same time you understand, wow, I really didn't know about this character. Like, wow, this is a worse or like better person than what I expected, which I think is really a good way to make the characters like real people, because when you meet real people, you meet them in the present. You might see something about their past, but until they tell you about their past or you learn about their past in some way, you can only create like an image of how they are based on how you see them in the present. So that when you learn about their past eventually, something that happens all the time in real life, you're like, whoa, like this person is like this? I didn't expect it. Like, oh, this kind of like creates a conflict with what I know about them now. And I thought this is really, really cool. Like it makes
good point.
it makes the characters like real people.
It felt very grounded, very like realistically portrayed the characters. I really like the characters. You also get a super cool scene of soul casting where stones transform into thick black smoke.
Yeah.
And then Kaladin just becomes a slave. And this is something that happens in this book every time this happens. And we just said, I like this, like we don't know what happened to him, we'll find out later. But we'll find out later, like 800 pages later. and by the time I found out, I didn't even remember I was supposed to find out about something. I read this revelation and I was like, I guess this happened sometime last year in a different book.
But don't you feel that it would reveal too much?
Right,
Would you be interested in the character if this was revealed
There is
like
build-up,
5 pages
but
after
there is build-up that I already forgot I'm being built up.
It's kind of it is dragged a little.
I was like, there was something these like reveals and these like super like hard-hitting like epic reveals, and I was like, was it in this book?
One of the problems with Kalin, I'm also mixing names. Kadolin, Kaladin's story is that even like at the end of the book, there are still some holes which are kind of filled a little in the following books, which is something I liked a little, but I also didn't like so much because he's constantly mentioning so many names. Like as I said to Philip, I don't have problems with a lot of names being mentioned because I know that eventually they pay off. But in Kaladin's case specifically, even at the end of the book, his past is kind of like fully revealed. They still have no payoff. And some of them, they have a payoff much, much later, like books later. And you're like, okay, yeah, I understand why you're telling me this now, but you were mentioning these names 2 books ago, and I kind of forgot because there are so many names.
So much.
But I think it adds to the natural way how the characters would think, because Brandon is trying to portray, I guess, the viewpoint of the characters, the characters would think about these people with their names in mind.
True. Yes,
even though you don't care about those names, that doesn't mean the characters don't care about those names. So
that's absolutely true.
Have to portray them in a way that it feels natural to the character, not to you.
It's all true by his hard work.
Yes.
Anyway, we get Kaladin traveling to like a slaves encampment.
Shutter plants.
Yes, of course, but I mean, like, he doesn't know where.
Okay.
And he's in this cage.
By the way, his whole dream of like being a soldier was, I want to be at the Shattered Plains as a soldier. Yeah. And then irony, you are at the Shattered Plains, you are essentially a soldier. He
arrives to Shattered Plains and he carries bridges.
Yes.
Yeah, he carries bridges while people are shooting arrows at him.
So they have this whole situation that's the whole motivation behind everything that basically happens in this book, and I'm very annoyed by. Shattered Plains, where chasm fiends reside with gem hearts.
Yes.
It sounds like the worst idea to charge into like a shattered plane crevice something.
No, they charge on the plateaus.
So that's the worst place to go. There's nothing in there, only these giant beings that eat you.
Yeah.
And then 2 armies somehow decide to go in there periodically, every week, 7 times.
Yeah.
And they just kill each other weekly, and they need this bridge crew to carry a bridge to lie over the chasm so they can get on the other side.
Yes.
Why these armies go in there to murder each other so often? This cannot be worth it.
Well, it's for money.
It's worth it. It's for justice because Parshendi killed the king, so we must avenge the king by killing the Parshendi.
That makes sense. But
so we are faring war with the Parshendi, and that means we cannot stop until they are fucking dead.
Yeah.
All of them.
First, it's for money. They are making a lot of money by getting all of these gemstones.
Yes.
And second, these are aleti from this country, Letkar, where they worship warring and fighting.
Yeah.
So especially the nobles, they're like, well, it's only natural that we go there and kill people.
It's justice.
How would you live if you don't go to a place and fight battles and kill people?
Yes.
They don't want to win the war, because they are making so much money.
Making money.
Yeah, they're making so much money that it's so much easier for them to just stay there and grab the war.
It just felt a little bit superficial that the entirety of this epicness is based on just go kill each other on a plane.
But I think that's the irony of the thing, where they in a fantasy setting usually expect people are like, oh, we want vengeance and we're fighting this war for all these things, but actually it's kind of like a game, and these people don't care at all. They just want to make money.
The people in power, of course, they have a completely different point of view. So Kaladin is a slave who has to carry the bridges, and it's completely just dreadful.
Yeah. But you forgot a very important point, which is while he's in the cart, he befriends a friend whose name is Silfrena. Yeah, essentially she's Cortana.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No. She's not Cortana.
She looks like Cortana, and she has kind of like the same type of irony,
So we talk
sarcasm.
about Spren, but this Spren is even more weird. So it's like Windspren. So Windspren are like sometimes there. And she does what she wants, and Windspren usually don't talk, but this one talks, and other Spren might talk, and then she might change sizes, and she might remember or not remember, she might be dumb or she might not be dumb, she might touch something, she might not touch something.
Well, she has her own character in that sense,
So it's intriguing, but also somehow infuriating to me. Like, it's like, what is this?
But is she a Windspren?
Yeah, no,
that's
probably.
a good question. Yeah,
She's. It also revealed that she isn't at the end of this book.
Oh, yes.
I'm spoiling this.
It's already real.
But it doesn't help anything.
Now we can spoil anything. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's just like
this reveal did for me what I kind of expected and nothing else. And never mind. Let's wrap this part up. By the way, to mention, we got flashback Paladin being a boy and doing surgery with his father. Yeah. Flashback number 1, I will remember this. And then he saw a soldier or a slave with him when he was carrying the bridge who died very quickly. And it reminded him of Tien.
Yeah.
His brother.
Yes.
His younger brother.
So this is going to come up so much. So this is where I started.
But it's an essential part of his character.
Okay, so part 1.
By the way, can I also tangent about Kaladin a little bit? I feel like Kaladin essentially has a plot armor throughout the whole first book. I really like how the plot armor, we are actually expecting the character to have plot armor, so it's not like a big spoiler that he is not gonna die in the first book. But I really love how Brandon is using this plot armor to actually deepen his character in a way that he actually his despair is getting worse and worse based on him being the only one who actually survives things around him.
That's really cool.
And the plot armor actually has some reason to be there, not just, for the character to survive, to have story further in the book, but it actually just has a point in the character itself and the character build up.
So there are 3 types of men: those who take lives, those who protect lives, and victims.
Yeah.
And with that, we finish part 1 of part 7 of 7,000 hours, because it's the shortest part where nothing happened, and we've already talked so long. So see you in the next part.
Staying true to the books of Brandon, just being longer than needed.
Welcome back to the next part of the Mind Deck Books podcast, Stormlight Chaos. We have time traveled. We have a new couch, we have a new place. Paulo has read the 4th book almost.
Yes.
I'm halfway through the 4th book.
We have time skipped so hard, I don't even know what's happening. So on the previous episode, we summed up the first part of this book. On this one, we're going to continue and hopefully make it to the end.
Very optimistic.
Okay. Well, okay. I need to abduct the podcast for a minute.
Okay.
Because something very, very important happened, in the time intercurring before, the previous podcast and the current podcast.
Okay.
Which is the new Blind Guardian album was released.
Yes.
It includes a song which is about the book we're going to talk about.
Okay.
Specifically the character of Kaladin and his life as a bridgeman. For those who don't know Blind Guardian, first, you should be ashamed of yourself.
I am ashamed of myself. I have no idea.
Second, it's an amazing song, and I'm super happy that they made a song about the book I'm reading. This is the second time this happens, and every time I was giddy and laughing at myself the whole time at home when I found it out, and
It's awesome. So last time we had a setup with, in my notes, I remember I wrote Kaldik and Yoshina or something. Jasna. Coming up is the interludes, which is something we just agreed. You have no idea what that is.
So interludes, every time there's a part of the book, there's ending. So between the one and the second part of the book, there are like 3 interludes always, which are kind of relevant to the story, but not really.
And I like the last interludes, but all the other ones I didn't care for at all, unfortunately.
I would say that the interludes, some people, I even heard that some people just skip them. I think that's a terrible idea. I could understand skipping these ones, but all of the other interludes are really, really important for the story.
Okay.
And some of the characters from the interludes become main characters later, or some of the events of the interludes are crucial for the rest of the story. So, I would not recommend.
Okay,
skipping
don't
them.
skip them. They're not long. But
Yeah.
So in these ones, there's Ishik, Nanbalat, and Seth.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Ishik, I found somehow is connected to the Mistborn series.
Yes.
Okay.
No idea.
Yeah.
No, it's a part. Yeah, the characters that are portrayed in that part are connected to the Mistborn series, but it's totally not relevant to this book at all. So
Okay.
you can skip this one and nothing happens.
Okay.
All right.
And Nanbalat.
Nambalat is
Somebody-
Shallan's brother.
Oh, I didn't even know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
It kind of gives you a sense that every person from the Davar family, which is Sean's family, is kind of fucked up
Yes.
in different ways.
Okay.
Yeah.
The last bit is about Seth, which is the
Assassin in White.
yeah.
Yes.
There's also pause. There's also a song by Demons and Wizards, which is a band I don't particularly like. Although the singer of Demons and Wizards is Hansi Kursch, who's also the singer of Blind Guardian. It's called Final Warning, and it's about sets.
Okay. So he's the video game Super Ninja lashing himself upwards, downwards, gravity, defying. And in this part, I was like, what happened? And I read my note, and the note says, no idea what happened.
Essentially,
I think it was like when he switched masters and he was like in some unknown city with some unknown master and just contemplating on he hates himself but he can't do anything about it because he is truthless and has to obey his master no matter what. He knows it's wrong but he can't do anything about it, and that's the whole chapter. It's like a depression overload.
Okay, so let's move on to part 2. Part 2 is called The Illuminating Storms, 16 chapters and million characters.
million characters.
So, Adolin, Dalina, Renarin, Elokar, Sadius, Gaz, I don't even know the names.
Okay.
And so this is the story of the high class knights with the sharp blades and super shiny armor, and what is it from the point of view of these people?
Yes.
So how do you like this? This part of the story?
I kind of like the politicking, it's fun.
Okay, so I like the way they build the society and the religion. They start to explore this. And, until now we have seen the war on the Shelter Plains from Kaladin's perspective. And now we start to see it from the people leading the army's perspective.
Yes.
Which is completely different.
Which I was in for. I was very excited to see that part.
The politicking part, I think... I understand your confusion about the names. I think here is where it starts introducing all of the high princes, which it's a little confusing.
Are, completely irrelevant to the story.
Until the end, until basically the second half of the second book, you can forget all of them. So that's not great. And you start also to get the first taste of the mindset of the Alethi, a warrior culture, kind of like fake Vikings or Spartans. And how they are essentially warmongers, and they are crazy about fighting. They love fighting, and essentially this is a big game to them. And the very first chapter, if I remember correctly, is they go on this hunt.
That's exactly what I was about to say.
Super dangerous hunt for no fucking reason other than they're bored and they want to do something.
So I was very interested to see how they portray these high class knights, and we get 2 of them, and they bet who's gonna race faster, and all this, and then they fight this chasm fiend, and it kind of goes away, and this part is more about flashback about the Kaladin, and it kind of disappears. so
there are a lot of Kaladin flashbacks.
So it was so long, and I was like, I want this, but where is it going? And then it's something else. And what I wanted to happened, but it happened page 800.
Okay.
so that's what I felt about this part.
Okay, that is fair. Kaladin's flashback are
I'm gonna say it,
kind of-
they're boring.
I don't think they're boring,
Yes,
but
they are.
it's just that they are kind of distracting in the
Exactly.
sense that
Yes.
when you are like reading a super exciting chapter and it's really exciting and you're like, oh, I want to see what happens next, and then the next chapter is Kaladin in his village.
Kaladin looking
yeah.
at stones. With,
Yeah,
with
like,
his
yeah.
brother.
So Dalinar and Elokar, which Elokar is the king,
Yes.
which I didn't realize until much later.
Son of the king that was
Of
murdered.
Gavilar,
Yes.
like the guy who died in the very first chapter.
Yes, also I didn't realize until later.
Okay,
But okay.
that's fine.
So they go. So we have so many chapters. They keep getting to this fight with this chasm beast, and Dalinar mentions he has this like vision voice in his dreams,
Right.
and
Yes.
it says, "Unite them,
Yes.
unite them."
Okay, so the visions are, to me, the best part of this section, and maybe one of the best parts of the book, because as a person who loves history and lore in books, this is a cheat to put lore and direct exposition to the lore to readers in a way that is really, really interesting, because it's really confusing to Dalinar himself. Like, he doesn't know what the fuck he's seeing, and even you as a reader, you immediately understand.
You can kind
Okay.
of relate because it's
Yeah.
confusing to you as
Right.
well, right?
And so you have all of these questions, and slowly in this book and throughout the like the following books, you start piecing the puzzle together, and it's really, really interesting. I really
Yeah,
like that.
I don't mind the visions.
Yeah.
I do mind the phrase "unite them," which is throughout the whole book. And if it's gonna happen, what I think is gonna happen, I'm gonna be so pissed. Is it gonna happen? Do I even have to say what's gonna happen?
So,
Let's not say what's gonna happen.
well,
it's very cryptic for a reason,
Okay.
I think.
So, besides what's going to happen in later books, I think this is actually really interesting, because as the reader, you can kind of guess, there is like this bigger threat to the world. So, maybe it's about that. But he's not aware of that. So, his first idea of unite them is about the princess of Alkar, right? So, his perspective on the meaning of unite them and what he's supposed to do and what it means keeps shifting.
Yes.
As like he learns new things and as he starts growing
we
as
can
a
talk
character.
about that later
Yeah.
when we get to those
I
parts.
just want to say, if they
Yeah.
unite the Parshendi with the Alethi to fight the Voidbringers, I'm gonna be like,
Okay. It's not that.
thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. I want to know that. Okay.
Yeah.
So they fight the Chasm Fiend, and we get this fight scene where they count heartbeats, and each heartbeat something happens. It's super cool.
Yeah.
I love that part. It was the only good part of this whole part of this book.
Oh, really? Wow. What the fuck?
I mean, this part 2 of this book, not the whole
Okay.
book.
Okay.
Alright, so you mean you didn't enjoy the part when they were at the feast and the men and the women were sitting at different tables?
No.
And they had their free hand and their safe hand.
So I was hoping I'd get an
How is
insight.
that not the best part?
Right. Describing the clothes. Yeah.
So after this fight, kill the Chasm Fiend, of course. Nobody really dies, and they save each other, and blah blah blah. Then there is like this conspiracy that somebody might have tried to assassinate one of the high princes.
Elokar.
Elokar.
Elokar is just really worried about being assassinated.
Yeah, essentially
After-
he's paranoid.
Yes,
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
really paranoid.
So I like this character, but the whole conspiracy about who cut this fucking belt, like I was so. Stop with
That's
this
not
belt.
interesting. I agree. Like it's not so interesting, but at the same time, it's kind of like an introduction to the politics within the High Princes.
So Dalinar has his visions. It's like weird, and we don't really know much. And finally, they just talk about the visions and they talk about the conspiracy. And they just talk and talk and talk and talk. And I was like, stop talking. And in between this, we have Kaladin flashback 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
I don't even know what happened.
I numbered all of them. So Kaladin's father is a surgeon,
Yeah.
and we get this story, which actually it might be my favorite of this chapter, of this
Okay.
like section. The father wants to save a girl who's injured, but he can't, and he makes a hard decision that he has to save the father because the father can be saved while the girl cannot be saved.
Yeah.
And then the father, of course, is furious when he comes to.
Not the daughter, like the son. You mean Roshan and his son.
Oh, that was later, I think.
Yeah, but isn't
This one is the daughter.
there was like another situation like
Yeah,
that? Okay, maybe I forgot. I'm
Too
sorry.
many flashbacks.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway.
Happens again, but this time I think I'm correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that was a girl first.
Yeah.
And
Anyway, child dies because the father surgeon couldn't save it, and the father of the child who died is furious because, bad surgeon, and everybody hates Kaladin's father.
Yeah.
And there's a very dramatic scene where the father knows this before, like, Kaladin's father knows that the child's father will hate him and he will cause him so many problems and he will always remember it. And he could, like, kill him and pretend like the surgery failed.
The one you're talking about is Roshon, which is like the lord of the city, and it's much later. Yeah. Because, there were two situations.
When is this part?
No. Roshon is much later.
Sorry.
So,
oh my God.
Because first, like, there was the injured girl, and he couldn't save her. And then, later in the story, there was, like, that other situation where, like, Roshon, who's, like, the guy who was creating so many problems for him because he was the lord of the city. Both him and his son got injured, and Roshon
That's the thing I was talking. Sorry, I mixed it all together.
That's okay. So Lirin is Kaladin's father. We are introduced, like, to Kaladin's family, and it's like Helena, who's his mother, Tien, who's his brother, little brother. I think Tien, given the importance like he has on Kaladin's character, I think he was very forgettable as a character. I don't know.
He's an object. He's like a plot point.
Yeah, exactly.
He's not a character. We never know anything about him, but that he died and it's important.
Exactly.
The only important thing about him is that every time Kaladin thinks about him,
he's sad.
He's sad.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, Lirin, I think, is an extremely interesting character. This is before Kaladin becomes a soldier, right? And Kaladin is remembering, like, his father's teachings, more of, like, moral teachings, in a sense, like he said, someone should take the first step if no one does. Like, if you're not the first one, then no one will do it.
Yeah, that was a good point. I like that part.
I really like that. I want to stress this because he thinks about it a few times, where he says, I trained as a surgeon, I was supposed to save lives, but I'm actually killing people. I think it's a very unique perspective in a fantasy book. In most sci-fi books and fantasy books, you kind of, like, come to terms with the fact that, there is war and people die. Most people get carried away and just accept the fact that, all the killing and all the fighting is normal, and in a way it's kind of, like, cool. But Lirin is this character who's completely outside of this mindset, and he's pacifist to an extreme and against violence to an extreme. Someone being a pacifist within a fantasy book is not new, but the way he's completely against violence and the way he opposes killing in any way, shape or form, but at the same time is very pragmatic when it comes to medicine, I think is very unique. And if you plan to read the following books, please keep in mind this character.
But I found the flashbacks. Flashback to Kaladin's father was Kaladin to be a surgeon, but Kaladin was to be a soldier.
Yeah.
Then flashback 3, girl dies.
Yeah.
After Kaladin did surgery.
Yeah.
Everybody is sad. Flashback 4, Bright Lord Rhinoceros
Roshon.
Yes. is mad because Kaladin's didn't save his daughter.
Just
okay, but
wasn't daughter, but it was
the
son. Yeah.
Okay.
The son in such a bad shape that the Kaladin's father can't help him, and rather than save him, he focuses his attention on saving Roshon. And he has the opportunity to kill Roshon, but he doesn't.
He knows
this is about Lirin. Essentially this will come back and bite him, but at the same time he really believes in his duty as a surgeon to heal people, but then Roshon is mad.
So then this part ends with Adolin and Dalinar discussing bridges. And also we skip the part where Kaladin tries to rally the men that carry the bridges.
Yeah.
Like try to somehow...
He tries to become, like, to befriend them.
Kaladin tries to bring them out of their, like, depression.
Out of their misery.
But it doesn't work very much yet.
Yeah.
In this part.
In this part, we first have Adolin as a point of view character. And I really don't understand the point of, like, illustrates a little bit of life.
Yes.
But especially I didn't like the whole part of him courting a lot of women.
Yeah.
I thought that was completely meaningless, and I think it didn't add anything to his character. And especially looking at what happens later in the story, like looking at the following books. I mean, I have no problems with him just, like, being popular, like, with the women. But...
the way you said
that. Yeah. Exactly. We are never shown, like, why does he keep failing at relationship? Like, is he not serious? Does he care? What feelings does he have about
I think Brandon is trying to portray here is that Adeline has struggles with women because he always places other things first.
Okay.
Because there are things that happen in the book where Adeline needs to solve some problem for his father, like dealing with something. And there's always this that, like, the woman comes second. And
people are kind of like just take it for granted that, good old Adeline, he broke up with a woman and he's already with another one. Like, he's a very nice person. He's a very nice guy in the unironical meaning of the word.
Yeah, that's true.
And if you look back at this part, it just feels strange. Like, it doesn't fit at all with how his character is later in the story.
I agree. So other than Aladdin,
Aladdin and his magic lamp.
other than Adeline, Dalinar also has like a revelation moment. He loses the thrill to murder.
Yes.
And I hate that part.
Really? Okay, why?
Because he's like murdering everybody left and right.
Yeah.
And then, it doesn't excite me to murder people. I wonder why.
That's kind of like connected to what Paulo was saying about living, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Like, I think, first, like the thrill, like with a capital T, is kind of a special thing.
Martin told me.
It's like the thrill with big T.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to talk all this together at the end.
Right.
This part kind of was like...
Okay, so let's move on. Let's talk about this later.
All right.
And also, we have first mention of The Way of the Kings, the book. In the book.
So, every book title in this series is actually a book in the...
every title. Okay, that's cool.
All of them are books.
Maybe we don't have to talk about this. I just want to say, like, I was thinking about, like, the visions. Why does he have visions? Has he had visions before? Is it normal? Does it happen to other people? Also, I was thinking, like, all these Spren, like the Syl character we talked about, it's everywhere with Kaladin. So, emotion Spren, do Spren talk, do everyone think about all this. Nothing was answered. I just want to say.
Okay. It's just questions. That's it. That's good.
Okay, so...
That's good. You have a lot of questions.
It's the first half of the book, so it's kind of...
But it's already like 500 pages.
I know, but it's still the first half.
Still per part.
We can hear the sound. It's facepalm. So next part, interludes. So first interlude is with Reason.
Well, I call her Reason. I don't know.
And his master Vustin. That happens again.
Yeah, they go to Shinovar, right?
First time we see Shinovar.
Yeah.
Essentially, Shinovar is what Earth looks like.
Yeah, they have ground.
They have
plants who don't
there's
like
dirt
escape.
and like grass that doesn't move out of the way
and
when
they
you step on it.
They have normal animals instead of
there's
strange
It's like
crabs.
chicken.
Yeah, chicken. They have chicken. Yeah. And they're like, why do you pay chicken so much? They're basically worthless. I'm like, chicken.
So next interlude, again, completely different. Axis the Collector or something?
Which, unlike my dream, is not a Yakuza collector.
It's not a Yakuza collecting money.
So he's super interesting as a character. For Axis the Collector, the non-Yakuza collector, I think he's a super cool character. His chapter was super fun. And I'm pretty sure he will be relevant at some point in the story, but for now, like halfway through the fourth book, he's completely
I
irrelevant.
have read 4 books, which was 5,000 pages, but I'll let you know, eventually he will be relevant.
I think he will be
the
relevant.
thing about these interludes, there's always something relevant, but you don't know when it's gonna pay
I
off.
like it, but it's like, you will not remember this. It's like so far.
That's amazing that somebody is able to write this in a concise way.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it makes sense.
The last interlude is Seth again. Well, at least one of these interludes gonna be action.
Yes.
So he serves this master called Mukek. And Mukek!
Is he the guy who gives him a Batman costume?
I think so, yes.
Yeah. He gives him like the Batman
I
costume.
remember that.
He gives him a Batman costume.
Like it's a costume where like he has like
sends
a
him
black
to
mask
kill
and looks
people.
like
he
he has like a
something.
mantle.
Oh, yes.
And he like sits on some
he sits,
shelf.
Yeah. He has to sit like on top of a shelf. Yeah, he's like Batman.
So Mukek is murdered.
He finds someone else who has murdered Mukek and this other guy, and they have his stone, his oath stone.
So that means he's a new master.
Yeah, whoever has the old stone is the master of Seth.
Yeah.
And Seth can't do anything about it.
Yes.
Okay.
And they give him a list of people to kill.
Yeah.
And that's like kings and like super important people all over the world.
So this part again, like, what the hell? Why? What is this? And then kind of fun. This is the interludes every time.
Okay.
Okay, so let's move on to part 3.
Part 3!
Paolo's favorite part because it's called dying.
Dying.
So this part...
Only happy stuff is gonna happen in this
How many parts are in this book? 5?
I think 5.
Oh my God.
But the 5th part is like short.
Yeah, the 5th part is just.
I'm just trying to think like
epilogue.
which part. I think 4th was my favorite.
Yeah, 4th is the best.
4th is
Okay,
fine.
so
My
3rd
favorite
one
is-
is the second best. I
Okay.
think it was. So this part was. This is where the book gets good, but it's already 500 pages plus. It's already another book.
So.
So this is where I started to really like it.
Okay.
But it was so long, so late. I kept writing notes and I was like, this should have happened at the beginning. This should have happened 500 pages ago.
But the payoff for some of these things is much higher.
So we get Shallan again,
Okay.
which I already forgot she existed. Like the second part was so long, I was like, okay.
Well, I would say like in my notes about the first part, like Shallan for me was kind of an afterthought.
yeah.
I couldn't remember her name.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If she, at this point, you were like, I don't care about this girl.
Yeah.
Like, she existed sometime ago.
Right. But in the second, now in part 3, I think she becomes, like her chapters
Yes.
become increasingly more
It
interesting.
becomes pretty good.
Yeah.
But like, if the part before this wasn't there, I don't think I would have cared.
Yeah, I like in my notes, I compare her to Sansa from Songs of Ice and Fire.
Yeah,
Well, if you've read like Songs of Ice and Fire, like
that's a very good comparison.
Sansa's chapters are like the first few books. Sansa chapters, like everyone hated them because it's just like her being like, "Oh, I like lemon pie. Oh,
Yeah.
you know this guy's clothes are
That's a
like
very
very
good comparison.
nice."
Yes.
And like, but then as
It
it
becomes
moves
a very good
forward,
thing.
yeah, her
Yeah.
chapters become more and more like dark and messed up, but also like much more interesting. And she becomes more interesting as a character.
Also in part 3, no Adolin, no Dalinar, no Sadius, no Roshar, nothing. Which is
I
great.
hate that.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna like try to go over it. It's very long. It's I don't know how many chapters, maybe 20 even. But we start with Shallan and Jasna, and Shallan is trying to. So Shallan is trying to like steal the Soulcaster we talked about, and she uses the magic sci-fi phone, which you guys explained. She actually talks to the spren.
She doesn't talk to us, man. They just write.
Oh, she even
Yeah, they write.
Okay, that was explained.
It's just a moving pen. It's like the pen from Harry Potter. You
It's
know,
a fax.
Okay.
Okay.
And then Kaladin does exercise to get stronger with carrying the bridges, and then flashback number 5.
Yeah. So in my notes, I wrote that Kaladin's flashback chapters in this part are boring, but I don't remember why.
They are not bad, but they are like, you're reading this and you're already so far in, it's already 600 fucking pages, and you're like, stuff's gonna happen. Flashback.
Yeah. True. Okay.
it always breaks the tension.
I think
Yes.
I remember. Yeah, I remember exactly that feeling. Where like I was like, oh, it's a Kaladin chapter. Oh, it's a flashback.
That's exactly my feeling about this whole book. I'm like, I like it, but constantly this feeling. I'm like, it's just, okay.
Just
This
say-
flashback, father is about to be robbed, isn't robbed.
Yeah, that's it.
Yes.
Let's go. Let's move on.
He is respected because he's a surgeon. Next. So Kaladin does side carry, one of the best chapters in this book, maybe.
Oh,
It's very exciting.
It was fun
Okay.
to realize how like everything got fucked up because
Yeah.
of him.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
okay. First, he starts to get to the other members of Bridge 4. So they start actually acknowledging him and they start getting out of their
Dying shell.
right, like kind of like the depth,
The
like
depression.
their mind have fallen
Yeah.
into. Second, yeah, as you said, the side carry is kind of like this moment. Kaladin thought he had found like this amazing solution, but then actually he fucks everything up.
So just to explain what this means,
Yeah.
they're carrying these bridges to these chasms, and when they carry it there, they shoot arrows at them, and
Yeah.
most of them die. And
Yeah.
he figures out a special technique to carry the bridge sideways to shield the people from the arrows. It's not designed to be done that way, so it's super difficult.
Yeah.
And then he manages to do that, and they all survive. But all the
Everybody else, every other bridge crew tried to mimic them because they kind of realized that this is the way to survive, but they didn't train it, so they all failed. They were like
they start falling
over and being slow, so everybody got massacred. And everyone else, other than this bridge crew, kind of like got massive losses. And everybody was angry at Kaladin, of course, at that point.
It was realistic, amazing, exciting, well thought out. Like, I wish this was the whole book. So then Jasna meets Capsule, who's like this ardent, and they eat jam. Whatever.
Shalan meets.
Oh, sorry.
Shalan's is.
I meant to say Shalan.
She's flirting with a priest.
Then Kaladin is just super punished because he caused this disaster with this army.
He's punished by being hung out in the high storm, right?
Yes.
That's the part.
We skip talking about the high storms in the...
we never mentioned high storms until this point. So, by the way, guys, there are massive storms every once in a while, just going around the continent, massively killing everything if you're outside. And every animal is kind of somehow evolved in a way that protects them from this high storm.
Other than things in Shinovar.
Yes, because Shinovar is protected by mountains.
And it's very, very far west.
And also, if you leave the gemstones outside, somehow they get charged by stormlight.
The storm somehow charges the
batteries.
The batteries of the spheres.
Which is cool. I like that. So they should hang him, and they have this law that if he survives the storm, like the gods will judge him. If he survives the high storm, he will be
spared.
Yes, thank you.
And of course, nobody believes he's going to survive. Even Kaladin doesn't really believe he's going to survive.
But he says he will.
He says he will, which was very cool. I like
which is like, you should say it, because if you don't say it, like nothing happens. If you say it, either it's going to work out and it's going to be amazing, or it's not going to work out and it doesn't really matter. So.
He survives, but he's super injured.
Yeah, I like the description how he survives. They have like how the storm is blowing and he hears like a voice, but he doesn't know if it's a hallucination.
He sees
like the storm
face
father.
Of the storm father, I guess.
So Kaladin survives because he can use Stormlight to regenerate himself.
Yeah. They slowly find it out. It's pretty cool.
At what point did you understand that he could use these powers? Because it was kind of hinted that when they were doing bridge runs, he started running always as the first guy, right? And somehow arrows never hit him. And also a couple of times he said he felt like a jolt of energy for no reason. And then when he checked his fears were always done. So at what point did you realize that he was using the same powers as set in the tutorial?
After the storm, I didn't...
I kind of started suspecting it before, because one of the things that Seth did was they were shooting arrows at him, and he used the power to send the arrows to the door, right? And Kaladin, a couple of times, like the arrows were about to hit him, but then he said,
it hit
inexplicably, like they were always hitting the bridge next to him, right?
So it was cool. Also, I like the part where he is dying and he doesn't know he can use the thing to heal himself. Still is on top of him and he's dying. And also this death spread, and she fights off the death spread. It's kind of cool. That was the only spread I liked. Death spread.
Death spread.
He sounds so metal.
Yes, exactly.
Did we see how they look like?
They described him a little bit, but not very much.
Okay.
Like very briefly described.
Okay.
It seemed very metal, yes. Meanwhile, Jasna is taking baths, and Shalan finds...
Before taking a bath,
she's going
she
for a
went to
practical philosophy.
She was like, she has the most metal philosophy lesson of all time.
But that was after the bath.
Was it
after the bath?
Yeah,
but she takes a bath also
after
because
Shalan was like thinking about, should I steal the Soulcaster?
Exactly.
Should I not steal the Soulcaster?
Okay,
and then Jasna was like, let's go for a walk.
Exactly.
Okay.
So they talk about morals, and if she gets attacked in a dark alleyway and she defends herself and kills them, if that's moral or not. And
and she does kill them.
Shalan has like a moment to think about this, and then she finally steals the Soulcaster, but she can't use it. Come on, in flashback.
Yay, what we were all waiting for. Is this when he's cutting vegetables?
I don't know.
Was he cutting vegetables?
Yeah. There was a flashback where he was cutting vegetables.
Maybe. My note is Kaladin wants to be a soldier but hates light eyes.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
Anyway, So we come back to Kaladin, and the bridge crew is amazed that he survived, and they revere him as like a god. And they're like amazed that he said that he would, and he survived. Kaladin tries to like make them a little bit happier. And first time they meet and they like have dinner and they like sing and they talk, and people finally start to like be people because they were completely crushed by this slavery. So that was interesting.
And I think maybe before the side carrier, maybe at this point, 2 new members join Bridge 4. One is the Parchment, and the other one is Lopen, the one with one arm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kaladin flashback 7. Surgery happens.
What surgery?
I don't remember. Just more flashbacks about Kaladin doing surgery.
Yeah.
At this point, I don't know why they are there.
Okay.
Like, you had enough. It's already 7.
That's true.
So everybody hates Bridge 4, and everybody hates Kaladin, and they try to like pressure him into just dying or just not giving them anything and making it
because as a afterfall for this whole side carry, the leader of this part of the army gets executed, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And new Bright Lord gets assigned to this regiment.
Yeah.
And this guy just fucking hates
he wants to make sure Kaladin does what he has.
The idea across that they want him dead.
Yeah. They want to give it to Kaladin.
Yeah, because they can't execute him because technically he survived the high storm, so they would be kind of like going back on their judgment.
It would be like against their religion.
So they assign Bridge Crew for like the guy without the arm and the Parshande guy, the worst people possible.
Yeah.
And they assign them chasm duty, which means they will not only carry bridges, but they will also go into the chasm, like down almost underground, and just salvage, scavenge
essentially,
corpses.
High storm kind of shoves everything into the chasm
and falls in there during the day.
It's kind of like a big flush.
So all the crap and dead bodies are in the chasm, so they climb in there and they just have to pick up old weapons. And,
and Kaladin picks up a spear.
Yeah, and he's like, oh my god.
But again, because this is super anime, this would be like the super anime moment where it's like he does this thing and there will be like the music with like the koto or something like that, or like the shamisen. And he's like doing these projections with the spears and people are like, wow.
Yeah, he's doing super spear kata.
But he's like still in his denial stage.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to admit that this is who he was before.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kaladin flashback 8.
Yeah. Okay.
He talks to Tien.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Okay. So then Yasna is studying the Voidbringers, which you didn't talk about very much.
Yeah, so Shala...
Well, Shallan finally kind
on,
of finds out what Yasna is researching, which is the Voidbringer.
So Voidbringers are some like mystical superpower beings that kill everything, I guess?
It's part of the religion. It was something in the past that happened during the desolations.
Okay, so...
What they call desolations, and they come, they kill everything, and they basically are the arch enemy of the religion, you could say.
There were 10 desolations. So the technically the final desolation is the one we see at the very start of the book. And every desolation was... like the defense of humanity was led by the heralds, immortals who would come back to Earth.
Heralds of the God.
Every time, there was a desolation. And, the Voidbringers would appear. Mm-hmm. They would come back from damnation, which is like hell.
Okay.
And they would attack humanity, and the heralds and the Knights Radiant would help humanity fend off these enemies until the last desolation, where essentially they completely defeated the Voidbringers.
Okay.
So now, according to the religion, the Voidbringers and the Heralds are fighting in the Tranquilline Halls, which is like heaven, and you have to be a good fighter or like a good whatever in your life, because if you are, then you will be called onto the Tranquilline Halls. To assist the Heralds in their fight. Exactly. Against the Voidbringers in heaven. And Voidbringers, people imagine them as being like this mysterious beasts of like darkness and fire, and we are not really sure how they look like, just that they are monsters.
So that's kind of Yasna's goal, to find out what the purpose of them or future of them or how to prevent that. So Shallan finds it out by spying on her, and she's trying to fiddle with the Soulcaster, cannot do anything. In the meantime, she falls in love with Capsule. She freaks out about it. Then she like astral projects somewhere, sees some visions of strange creatures at the same time. That's all kind of creative.
What is that?
Interesting, huh?
So she's drawing a picture of a guy, or the king of Carbanjan, and he can see some strange
Kind of like
creature in the picture.
Yeah.
And she like draws very quickly automatically, and then she freaks out because she drew something that wasn't there, but it was there, and she kind of saw it, but she didn't see it.
Right.
Super cool, like this part was.
Yeah.
So she freaks out even more, and then accidentally soul casts something into blood or something.
Yeah. She casts a lot of blood.
So soul casting means she like changes matter into some other matter.
Yeah, essentially it's alchemy. Transform an item into another item, like material into another material.
So she screams. She's in her room and she screams, and there's blood everywhere, and she's freaking out. And then Jasna is coming in the room, and people are coming in the room, and she cannot have them see that she
soul casted because she thought that it would make it known that
she has stolen the
soul caster.
So she pretends to cut her arms and pretend to be committing suicide, and they save her. But in the meantime, Kaladin dreams about being a storm.
Just travels around the world on the storm, which is really cool.
I like that part too.
Yeah, seeing all the like going through the windows of the building.
And he also sees character in particular is his Set, who was killing some high prints in
I forgot that part. Okay.
No one is noticing that he's traveling with the storm because he thinks it's a dream. But Set sees him. And he's like, what the fuck?
Super cool.
Hi there.
This part I was loving. Like, why wasn't this like happening earlier? Like, so late. Like,
fair enough. Yeah, this could have been here earlier, but I guess he didn't want to reveal too early.
So Shallan wakes up, and Jasna finds out that she stole the soulcaster, or not yet?
Not really.
No,
I think they.
Jasna is like there is this very sad, there is this very sad scene because Jasna truly believes that Shallan was suicidal, and so she's super regretful. Where she's like, wow, maybe I wasn't treating you well enough, and I'm always so hard. I'm always so hard on people, and now this is what happened. And she gives her like this book, which is clearly like very precious to her. This is a very sad moment because that Shallan is not really suicidal, and Shallan actually just was stealing from her. It's very sad.
True. It was a very well written part. Like everything about this part was great. But finally, it is revealed that she stole the soulcaster. It's in this part, and it's revealed by Capsule trying to like force his way in there because he was trying to get in contact with Jasna the whole time. Finally, it's revealed that he wanted to poison her with this jam that they keep eating. Sorry, with the bread, and then the
jam was the antidote.
Yeah, the bread is the poison. Yeah.
So then he poisons everybody by accident, and Shallan almost dies because she's poisoned. And then Jasna has to soulcast her blood to remove the poison.
But she doesn't have the right gem.
She doesn't have the soulcaster, so
she has the soulcaster.
She has like a fake replaced soulcaster. So basically, just Shallan has to like say, okay, I stole it, save me with this, and that's how it's revealed.
Shallan thought that she helped by revealing the soulcaster. Shallan actually helped in another way. But let's continue.
So how to end this part of the book? Kaladin flashback. Number 10.
Yes.
But this one is important.
Number 10 is the most important because the religion is 10.
So this flashback is when Kaladin was serving in the army, and he himself killed a shard bearer, and he refused to take the shard blade.
He refused to take the shards he got.
So if you...
By the way, do you think that he had the kind of Stormlight abilities at this point as well?
He did.
Yeah?
Like,
it explains how he was fighting.
Because he was always a very, very skilled fighter. And he says, was I a skilled fighter all this time just because I had this unfair advantage over others? And Syl says, yes, like you had this advantage over others. Like you always had this. Like it's just that you didn't know. But also, it's not like you shouldn't feel bad about it. Like some people have advantages.
Like Stormlight doesn't really give you new abilities. It perfects your abilities.
Right.
The things that you already have.
So like this explanation a lot. Like he was obviously overpowered the whole time, and they explained it in a nice, interesting way.
I remember when I was reading, I always thought this was really cool because, like in so many stories, like the main character is the best for no reason, or just because like they are the chosen one. But in this case, he received this power lots of other people could have received this power if Seal had chosen like another person. And that's a very good way to explain why he's super powered, why he's like so much stronger, and why he always survived.
Yeah, so he kills a shard bearer, and in this world it means he has the privilege to take the shard blade and become the new like shard bearer. So everybody's amazed, and they're like, okay, he's gonna be the next. He's like, fuck it, I don't want this because he doesn't want
he doesn't want to become the thing he hates.
Yes, he hates all the bright lords and the light eyes. And
and
lifestyle.
also essentially to him the blades represents like the violence and the mindless killing.
True.
So he refuses, and they take him in like a wooden shack somewhere. It's like a barn.
Wooden shack. It's the main guy's tent, Amaram's tent.
Someplace they take him away, and they're like, you didn't. This is not. It's not gonna fly. And he's like, what? And they're like, you should have taken it, and we should kill you, but we will not.
I'm gonna give you a favor. Not kill you right away. I'm gonna make you a slave instead.
Well, first we're going to kill all of your men in front of you.
Yeah, that's fucking like.
And then
so
we're
evil.
going to brand you as a slave.
And that's how we finally found out what happened at the beginning of the book, where he's the scene where Skyrim starts.
Yes.
The shard bearer who died, we don't know his identity at this moment. But there will also be
it is all connected.
Yes, it is all connected.
It is all connected
Because
in the Grand Cosmere scheme.
Because no one expected the shard bearer to be on this battlefield. They were not supposed to be here. And this shard bearer kind of appears out of nowhere.
So this part, great. Love it.
Okay, wait, we are forgetting like a super important thing.
Okay.
So in this part is where Teft starts mentioning the words of the Night's Raid.
Yeah, that's true.
Bridge 4 starts using them kind of as their mantra. Kaladin first says them, which is a very important moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they are?
Strength before weakness, life before death, journey before destination.
Oh, yes, I remember.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay.
They say that like a million times.
I remember this. Yes. Yeah.
If you want, we can talk about this for a second. First, because there is a very good Dune reference.
Thanks so much for listening. Hold in there. There's one last episode to go. One last Storm Duck next week. So rate us on Apple Podcasts, iTunes and Audible. And see you in the final conclusion.